Hey everyone, so today I'm going to do a health and treatment update. It's been a hot minute since I did one. My last update was in December, which I'll have linked so you can take a look at that if you're interested, but a lot has happened since then, so let's dive in. Like I said, a lot's been going on. If you've been following me on Instagram, you know some of that. I was just in LA last week for some new doctors and testing, so that's exciting, but let's just go back in time a little bit. My last update was in December, so let's start with January. The first thing I want to talk about is just the fact that this has not changed since my December update. I am not doing any Lyme treatment. So I have not been directly treating Lyme and co-infections. I'm not on antibiotics or herbals or anything like that. I'm still pursuing some other avenues because I feel like the root cause is maybe Lyme. We're doing some future testing. I'll go into that in a minute, but it just feels a little more complex than that, and I need to be addressing some other issues and still supporting my immune system and figuring that out. In January, I saw my immunologist again, and he really wants to try and get me IVIG, which is IV immunoglobulin therapy. It's the way I think of it is kind of like, instead of a blood transfusion, it's an immune system transfusion, or immune system, like a donor immune system. You basically get IV immunoglobulins, which are your immunoglobulins make up your immune system. So I don't have primary immune deficiency, so I don't have low immunoglobulin levels anymore. I used to, but they've gone up with Lyme treatment. But I still deal with autoimmune conditions, mast cell activation syndrome. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. And obviously fatigue and brain fog and digestive issues. And those three main symptoms are like really debilitating for me. And since I have like a lot of these health conditions that don't seem to be getting better with other treatment, he thinks immune therapy, IVIG, would be helpful, especially for the fatigue and brain fog. But since I don't have low immunoglobulins, we have to try and get another diagnosis and create a case for insurance to cover the IVIG because it's very expensive and insurance doesn't like to cover that. So we're trying to currently get a diagnosis of autoimmune encephalitis, which is autoimmune brain inflammation. I don't know that we're going to get that diagnosis, but the immunologist has been running a lot of tests to try and basically convince the insurance company that I have some brain inflammation or have some issues that they should cover, because IVIG is the only treatment that will work. So I'm in the process of building that case, and to do that I had to see a neurologist as well. So my immunologist referred me to a neurologist, and I saw him at the end of February. I saw him at the end of February. It's March now. And he basically was like, if your immunologist wants to go for IVIG, I will help try and build that case, which was really awesome. I was super nervous about that appointment because people have mixed reviews about neurologists, but this guy was great. He didn't necessarily, believe in Lyme or whatever, but like he totally wasn't discrediting it, and he was like, that's not my place to say, that's not where my research lies, but we have tons of people with autoimmune conditions these days. I know your symptoms are real, like I believe you, and I'm going to do what I can to help get you the coverage or get you treatment that you need that might be helpful. So he is running a bunch of tests as well on Friday. By the time this video is up, I'll already have got it. But I'm getting a lumbar puncture, and that's going to be to check for inflammation, again, in my brain and spinal cord. He's running some Lyme testing through that as well. And then I'm also getting an EEG next week, which is basically to see how your brain works. I've never gotten one. I think they attach a bunch of electrodes and like see how your brain waves are and all that fun stuff to see if they can see if there's some issues there or not. So I'll also be getting that to see if there's any issues with my brain that we can use for insurance. I did get a brain MRI, which came back totally normal, which obviously is like good. My brain is not bad. It's like, it looks fine, but it's frustrating when you're trying to get treatment and convince insurance because you need concrete test results, and a lot of my tests come back fine. So I'm doing a bunch of testing with the neurologist, and I'll see him again at the end of the month, and then I'll see my immunologist again at the beginning of April, so I'll do a whole nother update when we get to that. But also in January, I started seeing a new primary care doctor who is pretty integrative and understanding, and I started seeing her, and she ran some blood work because she thought I had mast cell activation syndrome. It's something I never thought I would have, or never thought of that I had. But she was pretty convinced I had it, so she ran the testing, and it turns out I do have it. I have mast cell activation syndrome, and so what that is basically mast cells are cells that are part of your immune system, essentially, and they release histamine, and they're a really important part of your immune system, and histamine release is important as a reaction to, let's say you get bit by a mosquito or a bee sting, or you get a cut. When you get that itchiness or pain or like the redness, that's histamine release, which is basically the mast cell saying, hey, immune system, we need you to come in and fix this. Like, there's an issue, we need you to solve it. Histamine is released in a lot of systems in your body, and in your digestive system, all over. It can be released because it's kind of part of a normal immune system functioning, to alert your immune system that there's a foreign invader or whatever that needs to be taken care of. And in the average person, it's just a small histamine release that triggers the immune system to fight the infection or clear up a bite or heal a cut, and then everything calms down. But with mast cell activation syndrome, essentially, I'm just kind of putting this into easy terms, your mast cells over-release histamine to basically everything. It can be anything and everything, and symptoms can include anything and everything, because it can be fatigue, it can be brain fog, it can be digestive symptoms because you're releasing a bunch of histamine reacting to every single food. Your immune system's like, just your body's kind of confused and reacts to everything you eat. Hello. Main symptom for me. It can be hives and rashes and itching and that type of reaction to anything. Like any type of lotion, anything, like even non-toxic clean stuff. Your body just starts kind of reacting to everything. You can have severe allergies, like seasonal allergies and mold allergies and stuff like that. And I have a lot of allergies, and then a lot of digestive systems and fatigue and brain fog, as you all know. So, and I've had rashes since I was a kid. I react pretty easily to stuff. I'm fairly sensitive. I just never thought mast cells. So apparently I have mast cell activation syndrome. So I was diagnosed with that, and I started a few things. I started something called cromolyn, which is for your gut. Cromolyn is designed to bind, I believe it binds histamine in your gut so that you don't overreact to food, and I think that has been helping. The cromolyn seems to be helping reduce bloating after eating for me, which is pretty good. I mean, it's not life-changing, but like it has been helpful. Then I think most of you know I see a nutrigenomic specialist, and he definitely believes I have some mast cell issues, histamine issues, so he's given me a few supplements to help with that. I've had a hard time tolerating them, and to be honest with you, based on the research I've done, mast cell activation syndrome seems to be a symptom, not a diagnosis. It is very much a result of immune system dysfunction and other issues going on. So a lot of patients with Lyme have it because Lyme messes with your immune system, and then you get mast cell issues. So it's not really a huge focus for me because I feel like I can if I can address that root cause and underlying issue, the mast cells will be taken care of, and a lot of my doctors agree with that. So I'm taking like Zyrtec, or like a prescription grade Zyrtec, and the cromolyn, and then a few supplements. And depending on how some of these other doctor's appointments go that I'm about to talk about, I may or may not add in some other antihistamines, H1 and H2 blockers for the sake of addressing my mast cell issues. It's just hard to know what is a mast cell symptom versus what is like a Lyme symptom or another, issue. And so I'm a little confused on the mast cell stuff. It's not my primary focus at the moment because I don't break out in hives or have allergic like anaphylaxis or anything. But if we can like calm my gut a little more, then that's great. My immunologist also apparently had run the same testing like 2 weeks before my primary care, and he also knew I had mast cell issues, and he was basically like, I just want to treat it with IVIG, and there's some research to support that IVIG can be very helpful with that, which makes sense because if IVIG helps regulate your immune system, then you're adjusting the mast cell issues. So basically I'm trying to get IVIG. So what else has happened? I know that was already a lot, and I still have a lot more to say. So like I said, last week I was in LA. I went to Los Angeles to see 2 new doctors that came recommended to me. It just seemed worth it to fly out there at this point to see 2 very highly recommended good doctors. The first one I saw was an endocrinologist. I've done an overview of this on my Instagram, but if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm going to do a full overview again right now. So the first one I saw was an endocrinologist. I have my notes right here, so if I look down, that's why. But we addressed 3 things. He basically thinks I have a pituitary issue. So your pituitary gland sits like in your brain, top of your brainstem. It helps regulate hormones in your body. I have had several brain injuries. I've had 3 possible concussions. I've cut my head open and gotten staples in my head. I've banged my head around a lot as a kid because I was super active. So he thinks that that has caused some pituitary damage, and as a result of that, believes that I probably am growth hormone deficient. And your growth hormone is really responsible for a lot of things in your body, especially that can contribute to the fatigue and brain fog immensely. So while I was there, I got a glucagon hormone stimulation test, which is a horrible 4-hour test where you have to fast and you can't drink water before it. They take your blood to get a baseline of your growth hormone, and then they give you a shot of glucagon, which is a hormone in your body. So they give you a shot of that, and then take your blood every 30 minutes for the next 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is after that. And glucagon makes you feel like crap. First of all, you get really nauseous. Then it causes a blood sugar crash, and of course you haven't eaten or drinking anything, so you're just lying there dying. When is this gonna be over so I can drink some water and eat some food? And the reason they do that is because if you take just a 1-time sample of growth hormone, your growth hormone fluctuates throughout the day, and if you take it, it could be at its highest or it could be at its lowest, the peak or the valley. So you have to do a 4-hour test so that you can really see whether your growth hormone is just in one place or if it's fluctuating like it's supposed to, or if it reacts like it's supposed to. And so if my growth hormone doesn't react to the glucagon shot, it means I have a growth hormone deficiency. And he's pretty convinced of that. He's seen a lot of patients like that and has helped a lot of them by supplementing with growth hormone. If that test comes back low, that I have low growth hormone, I have to get a pituitary MRI to make sure I don't have a tumor that is suppressing hormone release from my pituitary gland. He also thinks I have low testosterone and low oxytocin. And oxytocin is actually really vital for gut function as well. It's the feel-good hormone. Most of you probably know this. It's what's released when you hug someone, you get physical touch, and when you're happy. And so I have to do a 24-hour urine test for that. He thinks I have probably low oxytocin because of my gut issues. I also, in general, I'm not good with bonding, and I don't want people around me, and it's pretty extreme. I don't trust humans. So that's kind of a symptom of that too. The second thing we addressed was my adrenals. Probably have adrenal, who has a chronic illness and doesn't have adrenal fatigue, right? So we think I have low aldosterone because my blood pressure is mad low. It usually sits between 80 and 90 over 50 and 60. So I started licorice root, and I'm going to start Florinef to get my blood pressure up. And then the third thing we addressed was my thyroid because I have Hashimoto's. All he did right now was adjust my thyroid medication dose until he gets all the blood work back. So he ran a ton of blood work and then that glucagon hormone stimulation test, and I'll be getting all of that back soon, and then I'll do another update with everything to see what my updated treatment will be based on those test results. Also, because I deal with really low iron, he gave me iron patches, so I wear them at night, like a little patch on my shoulder, because I don't tolerate oral iron because it's really hard on the digestive system. Also, Lyme bugs love iron, and so if you take oral supplement, a lot of times they just eat it right up. So the patches are a good supplement for right now. The second doctor I saw in LA was a holistic GI doctor. So he's board certified in gastroenterology and holistic medicine. He ended up being much more holistic than I was expecting, which I feel mixed about. He is Lyme literate and mold literate, so those are really great, that he totally understands all that, and he encompasses all of that in the healing process of his patients. But it was a little overwhelming because I really feel like there's something wrong with my gut specifically, and he's very much like, oh, you still have a mold problem, we gotta make sure there's no Lyme, and I know he wants to do all that testing first before probably going right after my digestive system, but I've done a lot of that testing, so I felt a little frustrated, but I'm gonna go with it and see what all his tests say. So I'm doing a ton of testing with him. We're testing for mycotoxins, mold issues. He's running a whole stool test. I have to do the SIBO breath test again because we're thinking I might have SIBO still. Oh, that was the other thing. In February, my primary ran another round of Xifaxan, which is a treatment for SIBO, because I really felt like I was dealing with SIBO again. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth is a major issue for me, and that was helpful. The Xifaxan was helpful. So he's running another SIBO test to see where I'm at right now. And then when I get my spinal tap, he has added the IGeneX panel to it. So I'm getting the IGeneX, not just their blood test, but I'm having IGeneX run their Lyme, relapsing fever, and Bartonella testing off my spinal fluid. So we are making sure that Lyme still isn't a primary issue and isn't sitting in my brain and spinal cord. And we are also making sure that I'm more just dealing with the aftermath of that infection and not like a primary Lyme infection that still really needs to be addressed, which is probably a good thing. We're doing this testing and making sure that Lyme isn't prominent, or is, and I'm still dealing with that. He's running a lot of mold stuff because obviously that can be a big issue, but I have a lot of sinus issues, and so he's doing a lot of sinus testing. He's having me find an ear, nose, and throat doctor here in Denver who he can work with, because if a sinus is blocked, or I have mold in my sinuses and all of that's draining through postnasal drip into my gut, that totally affects your gut, and he can't fix my gut if we don't fix this first. So we know I have actually E. coli in my nose from a nasal swab I've done in the past. So I'm going to be starting like a special nasal rinse that's going through a compounding pharmacy so that we can clean out my sinuses and try and clean out that E. coli and some bacteria that shouldn't be there out of there. I always collect everything in my sinuses, so this will be interesting. It's probably good that we're addressing that. He's also testing my glyphosate levels, which is Agent Orange. If you guys know what that is, a lot of people actually have issues with Agent Orange because it was sprayed everywhere. It's in a lot of our food supply. So we are making sure I don't have high levels of that, or do have high levels of that, and determining how to treat that, because that's a huge toxin in our body that could be causing a lot of issues. He was also really big on the oxytocin test because that's a huge digestive hormone. So we're doing that. And then I also, while I was there, got blood work done to see if I'm absorbing my nutrients. Basically, it tests your nutrient levels in like your blood cells to see if you're even getting your vitamins and minerals like out of your gut into where you need them, like into your mitochondria and everything, because he thinks I probably am dealing with mitochondrial disease, which is basically your mitochondria not functioning properly, and those are the powerhouses of your cells that make energy. So that's why we're doing the nutrient testing. See if I'm absorbing nutrients so that my mitochondria can actually work. So that will be interesting testing to get back. He also wants me to get my car figured out for mold. He said it's very easy for cars to collect mold in the vents. Even new cars that are 6 months old a lot of times collect mold in the vents because of the air conditioning system. So that's kind of on the bottom of my list because I don't use the AC in my car and I'm not in my car that much. So right now, what he wants me to do in the meantime until we get all the testing back is to have warm liquids before meals. So a lot of you know, like hot lemon water before a meal can help with digestion. I don't do well with lemon, so I'm just doing the hot water, hot tea. Not to eat late, like before bed, because he doesn't want food sitting in there and fermenting at night. He also wants me to chew gum for 5 minutes after a meal to keep those digestive juices flowing. So when you chew gum, it triggers your digestive system to release digestive juices in your stomach, which is why a lot of people get acid reflux because they're chewing gum in the middle of the day and they're not putting food into their gut, and then their stomach releases the juices and you get reflux. But he wants me to chew gum for 5 minutes after a meal to keep those juices flowing to digest the food I've just eaten. And then no mint, nothing minty, because the mint actually relaxes the valve between your esophagus and your stomach, and that can lead to acid reflux as well. And then he was like, try and do soups and smoothies. Soups because they're warm, you know, easily digestible food. But for now, he was like, I'm not cutting things out of your diet because you're limited enough. Our goal is to increase your diet. I was like, thank you. But we have to get all the testing back to see, like, do I have Candida? Do I have SIBO that needs to be addressed? Or can we start expanding my, like, what the problems are? So basically, I'm just waiting on a bunch of testing. So this month is crazy because I have all those tests for those doctors. I'm getting my spinal tap. I'm getting my EEG. I'll get some more blood work done. This video is so long. I'm sorry. It's a very long health update. So I'm going to cut it there. And I'll do another health update in a month when I get all these test results back, because that will be a lot more information. So if you have questions, please let me know. I don't want to put doctors' names out there in public. As most of you know, with chronic illness, that's not the best idea. So if you want to know them, please find a way to, you can email me, private message me, DM me on Instagram, if you really want the names of the doctors. A lot of people keep asking me, well, you know, I want the names of these doctors, like, are they helping you? I've only seen them once. I cannot at all vouch for these doctors yet until I get these test results back. I do some treatment with them and see if what they're telling me actually works. So I cannot vouch for them yet. All I can say is I've seen some new doctors. If you found this video interesting, give it a thumbs up. It helps support my channel. Hit that little red subscribe button so that you don't miss future health updates and maybe some important information you want to look into as well. And I'll see you in the next video.